Yeah, but you can't buy Skittles with that.
Next comic, give it loud for everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're gonna have the next comic. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
Why, hello, everybody. Welcome to an Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne. And we're here again to talk to you, motherfuckers, about a wonderful topic. But first, let me introduce my beautiful co-host, Wayne Russell. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing so much better after that intro. You went full-blown fucking Nixon. I love that. That was so good.
Yeah, exactly. You tap my phones? What? Yeah, exactly. I'll Nixon you. So tonight, we are going to... This is a topic episode, motherfuckers. It's been a while, but we're here to bring you an slight depth look at You're an Open Mic Comic. What's next? Because that's kind of where we're at. We've been talking about where we've been doing open mics, and we'll always do them. But what the fuck is next, Wayne? What's happening?
Yeah, so as you know, we started off in the open mics, and if you listen to our 4-month check-in, we have our goals and where we want to go. So we were talking behind the scenes about... we think it would be a good episode to really kind of talk about the step-by-step progression of being a comic. Where do you go from open mics, and how you get there. So we're kind of at that point now where I don't want to say we're growing out of open mics, but we're growing up from open mics. We're still doing them. We're still going to do them, but we're starting to get to the point where we feel comfortable to do like book shows or guest spots. I guess a guest spot would be the next logical step from an open mic. You kind of meet people, network. You don't necessarily get it on merit per se. People might just hear about you or whatever, not necessarily ask for tape.
Well, I think for the sake of the structure of the podcast, the next step that we'll talk about after open mics, which we'll get to, would be bringer shows. I think guest spots would be a level above the bringer show, because a guest spot is at least something that a lot of the time the person is giving you based on some reputation. Yeah,
that's true. Yep. So we touched on bringer shows very slightly a couple episodes ago. Just a refresher, a bringer show is, they require, the booker will require you to sell some tickets and bring some people, and a lot of times, you might get a cut of that.
Yeah, that's a traditional model of a bringer show, but for the purpose of this podcast, I'm going to label bringer shows as pay-to-play, meaning that's going to encompass if you have to take a class before you do the show, if you have to pay a reserve fee before you can get into there, if you have to sell tickets before you can go to it, all of whether you get a cut, you don't get a cut, that's the level I think is above, the first level above open mic. All that into one. So as a open mic comic, you might be thinking, all right, it's pretty fucking easy to get into open mics. You just Google it and it's there. But then you see these flyers and you see other people you might see at open mics or a level above that, and they're doing shows all around. You'll see Mohegan Sun's got Comics Roadhouse shows where there's always 8 people and they're doing rooms down there. And you might be like, what the fuck is that? How do I get to that? When should I get to that? And how do I get to that? So that's why we wanted to talk about this today. That's kind of the idea that we had. What is above open mic? You've been doing it. So we're going to call it, just to be, one, feel better about our shitty lives, but also to just give you a roundabout idea. Let's call this 6 months in. So you're open micing for 6 months. You got yourself a good 10, 15 minutes that you feel's all right, and you're ready to take the next step. So for us, our next steps are going to be bringer shows. So Wayne, why don't you break down for me one? Let's more densely get into the categories of them. So let's go to the traditional bringer, and to give us an example of that, Comics Roadhouse and Mohegan Sun, because we talked about that place before. So that's a traditional paid bringer show. So how does that work?
Yeah, so kind of like I mentioned, you would reach out to the host or whatever, and he would say, "Yep, you can come on. You get X amount of time, sell X amount of tickets." I think in this case, when we had talked to him, I think it was 4 tickets. I think they were $10, $20 a piece or something like that. So you have to sell
$10.
those to. Was it $10? Yep.
Yeah.
So you have to sell those to go up, and you get a cut of that. I think they were offering $5 a ticket or whatever. So you get a little bit of money for every ticket you sell. And I think if you sold something like 15 tickets, you got to do 10 minutes instead of 5, or 15 instead of 5, or something like that. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what it is. That's the basic model. I mean, they might vary a little bit. I haven't reached out to too many to see all the variables, but I'm sure there are different variations of that.
Well, and then you did one version of a bringer yourself, and which didn't require you selling tickets, but required a standalone class beforehand that you went with, and that was really cool. I think that was like the best way to do it. But give us a little overview on that one.
Yeah, so that one, we've talked about it many times, so I won't go too in depth. But Mike Katrobis was running a class on hosting comedy shows, and a few other odds and ends in there. And at the end of it, he talked to the Wicked Funny Comedy Club in North Andover, and they allowed him to do a showcase with all the students for that night. So, we paid our money, we got our information, we got to take the class, spend some time with Mike, do a lot of learning, and then we also got to go up on stage in front of a real audience, and there were some bookers there as well. He's doing another one of those classes. It might have already happened, but he's doing another one. And then I saw Dave Radigan's also doing a similar one, but not hosting. I think that's just straight up comedy. But his is $125. I think it's 4 classes and then a showcase at the end. So it's a kind of a similar idea.
Nice. Yeah, I know Laugh Boston does theirs with Tony V, Dan Crone, and Will Noonan.
Yeah.
So they do. There's like a 7-part class and all that. But anyways, yeah, that's a way to get on stage at another level. It's not an open mic. Without, the real issue that we have right now is a purely economical one for the fact of anybody who would book us. We have no draw, so nobody is going to It's not like there are a bunch of people that go, holy shit, open mic Payne, Anthony, and Wayne, I'm going to see that shit. It just doesn't happen. So if you guarantee them a reserve for your gross body being on stage, then, that's fair. That's fair game. I understand that. But there is a way to do real shows and still not have a draw, but not pay to do it. And that is a guest spot. So that's a cool one. So Wayne's actually got a guest spot coming up. All the cool examples Wayne's done. All the fucking paid book gig I did was a hell. you go ahead.
Yeah, so
this weekend,
as
might
I
be
mentioned,
hell, you never know. Could be.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. Looks like a cool spot. But as I mentioned, I was just on Facebook, and a gentleman by the name of Matt Clark, who I'm friends with on Facebook, he produces a lot of different shows, and he just kind of posted that hey, he's looking for a guest spot comic to come on, and I replied, and he's like, okay, I'll throw you on, and he didn't require any tape or anything. It's probably going to be, I'll probably be on super early, so very little risk for him. Bump up to the guys that he knows for a fact are going to do well. Although I plan on fucking killing it.
Goddamn right.
But it kind of comes back to what we talked about with Dan Cronin. Sometimes just ask, throw it out there. Like, you see something like that, you think you're ready, throw it out there. Go do it. Go get it.
Yeah, guest spots are cool because what they are an ability for you to get on a showcase or a show, an unpaid version of a showcase slot that allows you to get on a lot more of them because, like you said, less risk on the host. He's not paying. There's all kinds of reasons why guest spots are attractive for promoters to get because it's slave labor. But we're slaves right now. We will do it. Put us out there for free. We will pay you to tell jokes right now. And hopefully in 10 years we scoff at this and we're like, oh my God, I require $5 million a show. But no, no.
I will. I will say, like, even though I'm not getting paid, or we're not getting paid at that, you are getting paid an experience in front of a real crowd. For me in particular on this, I think a guest spot's probably normally 5, maybe 10 minutes max. Matt's giving me 15 minutes, so this is going to be my longest set ever.
Yes.
I wasn't ready for that response, but I'm prepared for it. I have the material, and I know how I'm going to put it together to make 15 minutes, and I'm very confident in that. But I forgot where I was going with that. But you are
Well,
getting
here's a
paid for the
question.
experience. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, but you can't buy Skittles with that. So I was more talking about the Skittles buying variety of money.
Yeah.
This is a good question.
Yeah.
I think that so I heard Joe Rogan say once, if you're doing comedy less than a year and someone pays you, you've ripped them off. And I think he's kind of right in the sense of like guest spots are perfect. Like you said, you're paid with experience, as you should be in the beginning. There's less risk on you to go out there and, like pressure, I would say, for you to go on there and be like, this all has to murder. You can feel free to try stuff, work with the crowd and all that, and it not be like, hey, this is everybody's night out, so you got to bring your A game to it and all that shit. So I think especially 15 minutes if you get a guest spot on that. I think that right now where we're at, this is perfect. But I think that's the progression we should be trying to hit as much as possible. But there's a level above that too. And those are regular booked showcases. So those are pretty cool. So let's talk about what are some showcases in the area that are happening. Like one, we could talk about Xtina's. So Xtina's got a showcase on September 29th. Would that have already happened by now?
That's it.
22nd.
It would have happened. It's actually tomorrow. So it's the 22nd or 23rd. Yeah, it would have already happened. Yeah, 22nd. So it's tomorrow night from recording. Yeah, so this will be her second Low Laughs. Low Laughs 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'm sure they killed it. Did really well. There's a lot of funny people on there. But so I mean, yeah, that is one. You have somebody like Xtina, or I think Tori Slaughter does a lot of them. There's a lot of people in the Lowell, Manchester scene, and even like down in Raynham, like Alice and Diane, who are doing regular showcases. Excuse me, that are you could network with these people and potentially get on. But it's going to take a little more than just messaging somebody and going, "Hey, I want to be on there." They're probably going to want to know a little bit more about you, or have somebody vouch for you a little bit.
That's a perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about there, which is these shows, these first level booked showcases, again, are not based on the draw that you have, but these now start getting into your networking, meaning these shows aren't going to be ones that you can just say, hey, put me on, and they'll put you on site unseen. They all normally, you're putting your headshot in this one, they're promoting it on a flyer, and they've probably seen you before, but at the same time, I don't know how many of these are like, these guys have sent in their tape and that's how they've gotten on the show based on tape merit or something like that. Mostly all these shows are just friends doing showcases together. And friends meaning, like, you've networked, you've met with each other, and you've seen and been friendly, and they're cool people, and that's how you get on those shows. So that's awesome too, to do those kind of showcases. But those are normally going to be in places that aren't comedy clubs. So you're going to see that level of showcase in set up partnerships at restaurants. You're going to see them in old music venues sometimes. They do different stages where they'll have comedy on an off night run by a promoter. So, that's a good level to still be in what I consider like the open mic comedy scene. Like you're in there with all the same people you see doing. Like we see the same people doing open mics up to everything we've talked about so far, pretty all interchangeably. So, but you do get a step above that, though, when you get into real comedy clubs. And I don't know, would you consider that the next step? We haven't talked too much about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably neck and neck would be something like a comedy club and maybe like like Dave Ragnan's company, Scamps, or Mike Katrobis, Mic'd Up Comedy, where people can hire a bunch of comedians to go do a show in different places. I think those would probably be neck and neck. It's nice to say, yeah, I'm performing in a comedy club, but that's not the only venue for high level comedy. There are people paying to have comics come to them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, the 1A, 1B there in that regard would be those two. But yeah, if you can end up being with like a Radigan, Katrobis, one of those guys, Moshe, I believe is how you say that one, Moshe Productions, and there's lots of them out there where they'll run good
Pinky
shows.
Ring.
Yep.
Yeah, Pinky Ring Comedy. Yeah, there's a ton of them out there.
Exactly. So those guys all will do that, and that, sometimes they get real headliners on there, national acts, stuff like that. So that is a pretty cool way to go. How I always envisioned it in my head of where I wanted to go after that level would be a regular at a good comedy club. That's just always been, like, if I take that step, that's the step I'd want to take. Because there's just every good comedian has a story about, like, Louis C.K. going to Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston and the Comedy Connection and Kowloons and Giggles, and just being regulars at those clubs really refined him into being able to go to New York afterwards and start blowing his shit up. So that's the dream of mine. Like, the first thing I did when I got my first recording is sent it to Nick's Comedy Stop and been like, "Can I be there, please?" So,
and you got a not read, right? You get a not read read receipt.
No. See, this is the thing. I wish, but I know that they see these. I know that you see them because you watch the video, and I see the view count. So it's the worst because they never respond. But like, I remember sending one out, and they watched it 5 times. I got 5 views on my video and no response back. And I was like, man, there's only one logical explanation for that, which is they
just
went,
like, look at this fucking asshole.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only way. It's the only way. It's like, Bob, look at this stupid asshole who thinks he can do comedy. Yeah, so that's the step to hopefully get to. And the more I do comedy, I got to tell you, the more I am convinced that this is all a networking game in the long run. It's really just going to be, hey, you've been there for 3 years, and guess what? You're just friendly with everybody after 3 years, so you're going to get to do shows.
Yeah, the funny thing about that, I think about this a lot too, is you have some of these people that you'd send videos to or whatever. Comedy is so subjective, right? So let's say, for instance, that show I did at the end of the class with Mike at Wicked Funny. I gotta say, I think I had that crowd of 60 plus, roaring. They were laughing pretty good. But I could send that same exact thing to somebody at Nick's Comedy Stop and go, dude, this fucking sucks. And it's all on him to go, nope, I'm good. But, those people in that crowd might have loved it. Because you also got to think, too, you're sending it to people who are could potentially be comics themselves. So maybe it's not.
Yeah, that's why I think that shit doesn't fucking matter. That's why I think those tapes are. I mean, I'm a bitter man talking about tapes because I've sent so much shit out and gotten so much crickets. But I think in the end, that's why it's going to be. If Mike Katrobis says, "Hey, Nick's, I'm doing a show there. Do you mind if Wayne Russell opens for me?" They're going to say yes. You could totally. Yeah. That's how you're going to get onto Nick's right away. But sending off tape, it's just so hard. I mean, maybe if we did a well-produced one, like we do a multicam recording of one of our sets, we put a microphone in at the PA system so we could get good audio.
Well, so that was part of the class with Mike, and that is a big thing. You don't need necessarily multicam. Even video isn't. I mean, it has to have video, but not. Because the bookers want to see what they're hiring, not just the voice. You know what I mean? You don't want some ratty homeless guy on stage in his boxers. But
I would just wonder how much they do. Meaning, how many times does a booker realistically go, I have to watch tape to find somebody to go on this show. I'm not saying they don't watch tape. I know
think
they
they
do.
only watch a minute or two.
Yeah, I really
They're not
think
watching
that
the whole set.
And I don't know if they're basing hiring off of that. They might just go like, I'm never going to hire somebody off of tape, but at least I'll see their face. And if I see them in person and get vouching, then I'll bring them on. But yeah,
Maybe.
I don't know. Because everybody we've talked to who's gotten on showcases, I've asked them like, oh yeah, what did you do to get on it? And they're just like, oh yeah, I went to their show. And we became friends, and then I went on the show. I went on their showcase.
Yeah,
that's
you know,
the way.
we try to give tips and stuff, and I think that's a huge tip. Networking is everything, not just in comedy, just in life. And you know,
I know it sucks. Though.
I have
if you want to be like me and not talk to fucking anybody because everybody's just such a piece of shit. Comedy's a tough game for that.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. But
that's why I have my Wayne.
That's right. I do my best.
He's a great networker, everybody. Wayne will support you, promote you, and also please put him and then me on your show. I won't do any of those things though. I'll just be.
I do it on behalf. It's a two-way street. I try to promote and support everybody on behalf of myself and Anthony and Open Mike Payne, and Anthony berates me on a weekly basis.
Because you gotta level out. You need balance.
You need
the
balance.
Whole point of Star Wars.
You need to bring my cheeriness down just a tad.
yeah, exactly. Because sometimes Wayne will come in and he'll be like, "Everybody, let me tell you about how I killed at name insert bar," and then there'll be 4 people there, and all I'm saying is because if you use the word "killed." And then you do 60 people at Wicked Funny and do good like that. What was that then? Because you gotta have another word.
I don't think I've ever said I killed with 4 people in the room.
One Broadway collaborative.
You got a lot of good feedback.
Oh man. That was like, you know that Murdoch Murders there with that guy from down south who shot his wife and son in the face. So that guy, it was great because he was like, well, I was not at the house. How could I have murdered them? And then they played a video of him being at the house at the time of the murder, and he was like, oh, shit. And that's exactly what just happened to you. You were like, I've never said I've killed in front of 4 people. I'm like, I remember the exact instance that you did. And you're like, oh, I got good feedback. Yeah, so everybody, just peek behind the curtain. Wayne is an optimist, which we all love. But he is a hyperbolist.
So, after book shows, book comedy club, regulars of comedy clubs, regular booked shows with production companies, whatever. Obviously, the next step would be, maybe Netflix takes a look at you or something like that. Move out to LA.
Oh, you hopefully go national, and by national, you don't have to move to New York. You don't have to move to Austin or California. In reality, what you need to do is get on the road. And how you get on the road is a booking agent and or going on tours with a national act. You hope that the idea is that you get onto these showcases with people like Will Noonan, Dan Crone, Janet McNamara, all these people that do these shows at Laugh Boston and all that shit. If you get good with them, then when Shane Gillis comes to town and he does Laugh Boston, which he will never do ever again, but he did before, they need a local person to support them, as a feature act or an opener or anything like that. And that's what we need to get on, because then you do your set in front of Shane Gillis and he loves it. And he says, hey, come do 10 shows with me. But this is a dream scenario that we're talking about here, but that is what you can get by being regulars at comedy clubs. You get on the road from there. And then once you get on the road, it's, you run into the right people, you get on the right shows, your comedy career goes from there. So, realistically, we're at where we need to talk about, because if you get to the level that we're at, you don't need our help anymore. We're already far beyond our wildest dreams of where we're going to be.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't think anybody. Well, maybe I don't think anybody listening is at that point at this right now. But
If you are, book us, you piece of shit. What do we have to do?
Yeah, if you're a regular listener and you're at that point, hook us up.
Exactly. We will hand job somebody if you need us to. That's the thing I don't think they're getting is the desperation in my emails. I'm being too cool in it. I should be like, I will suck your no.
Dude, I wrote a whole 5 minutes on that. That's not about the guy in the tank top. That's about me wanting to do something more than an open mic.
Yeah. It really, I mean, it's just like, okay, the last thing we'll leave you with, folks, is I'm going to give you a perfect metaphor for what doing an open mic is like compared to a book show. It's like somebody heated up, like it's 110 degrees, and you got a Toyota Camry outside, and you're 11 years old, and you don't know how to work on your boner. You just haven't. It just hurts. And that 110 degree door that you have, you're able to just lean against it, and you're able to just have a little bit of relief. The world isn't so crazy, and then later that night, you ruin your bed sheets by accident in your sleep. So that's doing an open mic. That's exactly what that is. That is the sexual experience of an open mic. But doing a book showcase is that lady. You know, that lady that takes you and just teaches you all about how the world is. And so you can imagine we're very much horny teenagers about trying to get onto book shows now.
Yeah, I said it before. That Wicked Funny thing was like almost it mimicked the feeling I had the first time I went on stage. That adrenaline rush and that happiness I had. And you just chase. It's almost like a drug. You're just chasing the next thing to make you feel that again.
Yeah, exactly. Or boners, like I said. It's gonna be exactly horniness. Get all horned up for comedy that's real. But yeah. So long soliloquy that now will get us banned on YouTube because of the sexual. I always take it there. Sorry, everybody. I get us demonetized for my sexual conquest metaphors, but they do hit the hardest. I gotta say.
They do. I'm so jealous of the fact that you can do that. So.
Do what?
Just the rants, as you say, soliloquies.
Yeah, most of the time I don't know where I don't know where they're going. I don't
either. It's super impressive though.
Yeah, you hope you find yourself, like Michael Scott said. You hope you just find it along the way. Sometimes you don't. But no, I was that 11-year-old man. Those fucking hot Toyota Supras on the hot days. My first love.
Got that Dark Souls moan.
Oh, exactly. Oh. God damn it! All right, guys. So that's it.
We're puttering.
We're puttering, and that everybody's like, these stupid assholes are wondering why they're not on booked shows. Yeah, all right. Guys. You caught us. That's it. But okay. Everybody, that's it. Have a good night, and remember that every mic you do is important because it's a step in the quest for AIDS or laughs. One of the two.
Just like, look at this fucking asshole.